all to all of our Toastmasters and honored guests and dignitaries in the audience. First off, I want to just thank our contestants for showing up and going through this journey of competing from club to area to division, and now they're here. Would also like to thank all of our functionaries who are participating with us today to make this event a success, and all of our guests that are in the audience to support our contestants. Housekeeping rules that we want to make sure that we are being mindful of as we go through our contest this evening. Turn off or mute any electronic devices around you. That would include me, as my son is blasting the phone in the background. Turn off your audio and your video. The Zoom master will open up the chat during all of our downtimes. And also be mindful of what you say, because if you don't, you may have your video on or your mic off mute, but we can still hear what's going on. And what you say can be heard by everyone. Finally, don't forget that the program for tonight is on our District 8 website, and the PDF link, you should be able to find that in the chat if you don't have that available to you right now. So that link to the program will be dropped in chat for you to receive the program. Just also want to be mindful to all of you that our speaking area for tonight's contest has been determined to be what is visible by the contestant's camera. Our speaking order was determined by a random generator and will go in this order. Speaker number 1, Nancy Watley Blaine. Speaker number 1, Nancy Watley Blaine. Speaker 2, Jake Hurl. Jake Hurl. Speaker 3, Nicole Arms. Nicole Arms. Speaker 4, Brad Adams. Brad Adams. And speaker 5, and there's a misprint of speaker 5's last name in the program. Her last name is spelled Hoekelman, and that's Tiffany Huckelman. Tiffany Huckelman, speaker 5.
Could you spell the last name again, please?
Hoekelman.
Actually, the updated program, it is correct.
Okay, thank you so much. Tiffany Huckelman. Just want to point out that after each speaker, I will ask for a minute of silence for the judges so that they can mark their ballots. And after the last speaker, the judges will have as much time as needed. And after the ballots have been collected, we will conduct the contestant interviews. May I have the timer to please read the timing rules for the international contest?
The following is the timer rules for international speeches. International speeches shall be from 5 to 7 minutes. A contestant will be disqualified if the speech is less than 4 minutes, 30 seconds, or more than 7 minutes, 30 seconds. A green signal will be displayed at 5 minutes and remain displayed for 1 minute. A yellow signal will be displayed at 6 minutes and remain displayed for 1 minute. A red signal will be displayed at 7 minutes and will remain on until the conclusion of the speech. These are the rules. Back to you, Toastmaster.
Thank you. Chief Judge, Have the judges been briefed?
Madam Contest Master, the judges have been briefed, are ready to serve.
Thank you so much. We are ready to begin our speech contest at this time. Our first speaker for the evening is Nancy Watley Blaine. Nancy Watley Blaine, New Beginnings. New Beginnings, Nancy Watley Blaine. Before you start, Nancy, just want to make sure we can hear you and let us know when you say ready. So we can make sure we can hear you.
Ready?
All right. I'm going to say it one more time. Nancy Watley Blaine, New Beginnings, New Beginnings, Nancy Watley Blaine.
Madam Contest Master, fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guest. Everyone loves a happy ending. That happily ever after scene that has been instilled in us from childhood by the late, great Walt Disney himself. You know, where the prince grabs the princess's hands, they leap upon a nearby white horse and ride off into the sunset to live happily ever after. But for me, I've always been more excited by new beginnings. The hope and the wonder, the hurt and the heartbreak. It's the next adventure that calls out to us all. Just around the river bend, our lives are full of new beginnings. If introducing Toastmasters to our firm was a happily ever after, then transitioning it over to our current leadership, watching it grow and thrive and prosper, watching us step by step and stone by stone build a wonderful environment of psychological safety where our members can challenge themselves to grow and feel brave and take risk and elevate themselves to new heights of public speaking that they never thought was possible. These are the new beginnings that inspire. And not all new beginnings are what we'd wish for. Years ago, a great rift divided my family. My father, his sister Linda, and his brother David landed into a disagreement over principles that would sever sibling bonds and isolate our families from one another for more than a decade. This was not the happily ever after that the movies promised us. 2 years ago, my uncle David reached out to us with tragic news. Linda had been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and it seemed to be progressing quickly. This catalyst created an environment that made our past grievances suddenly become small and surmountable, and the prospect of a present and a limiting future, it pressed us all into an unexpected new beginning. In April of last year, my father flew from California and visited Linda in the home she was staying in. I accompanied him. I stood witness in the background as they sat looking at each other and making silly faces and uttering nonsensical sounds that were just a recapturing of their childhood. I watched a family bond rekindle that had lost so much time that could never be recaptured. And yet it was that afternoon visit that I believe would become etched in our memories forever as some of the most precious and important ones. At the end of our visit, I smiled and waved goodbye to Linda. And she walked over to me and she grabbed me into this hug so tight, and she just held me. And I'd never been hugged by Linda before. Then she stood back and she held me by the shoulders and she just looked at me and she smiled. And although she was nonverbal at the time, no words were needed in that moment. A lifetime of distance and differences between us melted away. And for us, it was a new beginning. Last month, we laid Linda to rest. She was surrounded by her treasured family, her children, her grandchildren, her great-grandchildren, including my father and my brother David, and each of our respective families. There was a reconnection that ignited and united us. It was filled with hugs and introductions and laughter, and yes, even some tears. And it was a new beginning for all of us. The day after the funeral, my dad and David spent the entire day together. They were catching up and making plans for the future and talking about the decade of time that had just slipped by between them. They renewed a bond that we thought was lost forever. Now, you may think that this is their happily ever after, but I say it's a new beginning. Madam Contest Master.
Toastmaster Nancy. I want to ask for the timer to give us 1 minute for the judges to count their ballots. Toastmaster Jay, can you hear me? We can't hear you, you're on mute. Toastmaster Jake, you're muted.
I know, sorry, it was blocking me from unmuting, but I'm here now.
Okay, great. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Jake Pearl, turning backyard dreams into reality. Turning backyard dreams into reality. Jake Pearl.
If you played sports growing up, how many of you were like me and wanted to hear your name called over the Jumbotron or had dreams of seeing your highlights on ESPN? Being recognized at the highest level and making big time plays are table stake dreams for just about any athlete growing up. If that's true, then why did my coach, when I played football at the University of Missouri, come up to me habitually like clockwork before every single game and say, the only person who should know your name at the end of this game is your mother. I'm going to use the next 6 minutes to share why what my coach said is not only a good thing, but something I took pride in. Why after 4 years and 51 career starts at Mizzou, my principal goal was to be virtually unnoticed. It all comes down to the most niche, under the radar position in all of sports: long snapping. Be honest with me. I know I can't see your Zoom screens, but who has even heard of long snapping? I'm guessing if I saw the screens, not a whole lot of hands would be up. The truth is, a good chunk of football fans don't even know it's a real position. But long snapping was truly a life hack that allowed me to live out my childhood dream. But before we get too far ahead in that story, I want to pause and explain what long snapping is in the first place. Because I know it's okay. Some of you probably just pulled up a Google tab and started typing, "What is long snapping?" I'll save you the Google. A long snapper is a position in football, and there are only 2 plays a long snapper takes part in. Those 2 plays are to perform a punt snap and a field goal snap. For either of those plays, the long snapper is the one who's bending over, grabbing the football, throwing it between their legs to either the punter to punt the ball back to the opposing team, or the field goal holder so our kicker can kick a field goal. 15-yard snap for punts, 8-yard snap for field goals. That's really it. On and off the field quicker than a commercial break. So now everyone can give yourself a virtual pat on the back. You are officially long snapping experts, but that still doesn't have us figured out of the question that remains. Why did my coach only want my mom to know my name at the end of the game? As a long snapper, if you do your job properly, you won't ever see your jersey hanging up at the store or see your highlights on SportsCenter. The only time people know your name is when you mess up. The standard, the expectation is literally perfection. If the ball is off by as little as a foot, the entire play turns into a disaster because of a block kicked or a drop ball. Each snap is expected to be within a few inches of your target. And this is really the paradigm of long snap. The better you are at your job, it's like it never happened. And you go completely unnoticed and start fading into the background noise of the game. And this is really the core of my coach's hyperbolic pregame pep talk. He wanted me to be so good that out of 93,000 people in the stands, only my mom, Kelly Hurl, would know who the long snapper was. Now you might be shifting gears a bit and thinking, okay, I know what long snapping is, but why did you, Jake, pick the most no-name, obscure position in all of sports to be your thing? And any time since I was a little kid, I had one dream: to play football for the University of Missouri. Anytime a backyard game would break out, I pretend I was a starting quarterback for Missouri. And I don't know if it was childhood imagination or what, but I could feel it to be tangibly true in my life. And that fantasy continued into high school. But I started to feel this clock ticking. Time was running out for me to make this dream a reality. I was a decent athlete, but let's just say between us on the Zoom call, scouts weren't coming to watch moi on Friday nights. The dream was starting to feel not so tangible until serendipity took its course. Sophomore year, my coach noticed I was decent at long snapping, pulled me aside and said, "Jake, this could be your ticket." Not many people or players pursue long snapping, but guess what? Every college team needs one, including Mizzou. I took that to heart. When my teammates went home and hung out after practice, play Xbox, I went home and snapped hundreds of footballs to my mom or any neighborhood kid I could get to catch them, day after day after day. This was going to be my shot toward black and gold on Saturdays. A few seasons pass, still no interest. At this point, it's the summer before my senior year. That clock was continuing to tick, but there was more of a looming weight attached to each tick. I had one last shot. Mizzou was hosting a summer camp that allowed high school players to get noticed and recruited by those coaches. I signed up when I saw there was a 30-minute period where long snappers got to perform drills in front of coaches. That 30-minute period came at this camp, and I snapped bullseyes. Later that day, a Mizzou coach came up to me and asked that I meet him in the stadium in 20 minutes. bring your cleats. Hearts thumping, cue sweaty palms. They notice me. I get to the stadium and it's just me and a few coaches standing in the middle of Faroe Field. The field I grew up watching Mizzou games as a kid. They wanted to see me snap again. I did about 20 snaps. The coaches thanked me. And as I was packing up, I can remember this in slow motion in my head right now as I'm telling it to you. They came over and formally offered me the walk-on spot for the following season. I was on the team. My redshirt freshman year, I won the starting job, a scholarship, and played in every single game for the next 4 years. A kid from St. Charles, Missouri, who wasn't getting offers from a single college football program, got to play at a Division I premier school. And that, my fellow Toastmasters, is the life hack of long snapping. You don't have to be the biggest, baddest dude on the field or some freak of nature athlete. As long as you're willing to go completely unnoticed, have a mom that will catch 10,000 practice snaps, throw in a little serendipity, and I'd say you have a pretty good shot of turning backyard dreams into reality. Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Jake. Timer, may I have 1 minute of silence so that the judges can score their ballot? You. Our next contestant is Nicole Arms. Nicole, can you hear me?
Yes.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Nicole Arms, the art of forgiveness. The art of forgiveness, Nicole Arms.
The setting is a dark bedroom on a cold winter's night. A teenage girl lies awake in her bed while the rest of her house is sleeping. She cries silently, holding her breath, angry. She prays, "Please, I just want to wake up skinny. I don't want to be fat anymore." Madam Contest Master, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests. Today, I would like to change your perception about forgiveness. Psychologists define forgiveness as the conscious release of resentment towards those who have harmed us. However, what if the person who had harmed us was ourself? What if we could make forgiveness an internal act where we said to ourselves, "I forgive you"? When I was 7 years old, my mother remarried. However, before the wedding, my soon-to-be stepfather informed my younger brother and I that we were to call him Dad now. I thought he was joking, and I said his name, but he didn't respond. I was confused. My dad is my dad, even if I see him every other weekend. And I replied, "But I have a dad." His response, "I'm your dad." And never again was I allowed to call my own father Dad in front of my mother and stepfather. Between being forced to call my stepfather Dad and moving more than 2 hours away from my entire family including my dad, I was really sad. One Saturday afternoon, while my mother and younger brother took a nap, I decided I was going to run away. I grabbed my favorite Barbie, put it in a bag, put on a pair of boots, walked out into the yard, made it to the edge. I didn't know where to go. Frustrated, I stomped back into the house. I opened the freezer and I made myself a bowl of chocolate ice cream. I went into the living room, turned on the television, and a rerun of the Brady Bunch was playing. The chocolate ice cream tastes good, and the show made me laugh. And for those 30 minutes, life was great. Then my stepdad came in, changed the channel, and it was a snap back to reality, and my ice cream bowl was empty. Slowly, I began to gain weight. I was eating ice cream every night, seconds at dinner. I went from being very active to a sedentary, reclusive child, holed up in her bedroom, reading her books and playing with her dolls. At school, I went from just being the new girl to being the fat girl. I was picked on the playground, left out at PE, and never invited over to play. This just made me want to come home and eat more. When I was 13 years old, I hit my breaking point. After yet another bad day between the kids at school picking on me and my stepdad picking on me at dinner, I had had enough. I laid there in my bed, crying, angry, sucking in my breath, trying to hold it, praying, please, please, I just want to wake up skinny. I did not wake up skinny. Instead, I woke up and started riding my mom's recumbent bicycle and cutting my food intake in half. This hatred that had manifested inside of me was fueling my desire to be skinny. In my mind, if I could just be skinny, everything would be fine. Everything would be great. Things were not great. As the years went on, I'd restrict, I'd binge, I'd eat, I'd punish myself with exercise because being fat wasn't an option. That meant being left out and being picked on. And if I could just control the food on my plate and the exercise, I was in control. Until I wasn't in control anymore. On my 40th birthday, I went for a 3-mile jog and injured myself yet again. As I sat there at home on the couch, eating a bowl of ice cream, I was so frustrated and feeling guilty, I wasn't even going to be able to burn these calories off. It was in this moment I realized I needed to change. I started working with a registered dietitian who specializes with female athletes who have disordered eating. Fellow Toastmasters, when I decided to make that change, that was my telling myself, I forgive you for letting food control your life when you were just growing up in a tough situation. Food had no moral value and you had done nothing wrong. I made the conscious decision to release that resentment I had held towards myself. After I had that moment, I went back to that 13-year-old girl who still lives in my mind, crying to be skinny. And I said to her, Eleanor Roosevelt said, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. No one. Not your peers, not your stepdad, not the food on your plate. She stopped crying. I stopped crying. This act of forgiveness, this internal act of letting go was such a huge weight off of my shoulders. Had my family situation improved? No, not at all. But part of that forgiveness was letting go of the expectation I would ever get an apology. I had harbored such hatred towards myself for just having grown up with a toxic person and a bad situation. I had held resentment towards my peers for just having the herd mentality of ostracizing the person who didn't fit in. And I had to let go of hating my own physical reflection in the mirror and realizing that doesn't make me who I am. Fellow Toastmasters, I challenge you to take a chance of this act of forgiveness and see how you feel when you tell yourself, I forgive you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Nicole. I'm asking the timer to give us 1 minute. Toastmaster Brad, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Brad Adams, the Screaming Widow. The Screaming Widow, Brad Adams.
I once attended a funeral where in the middle of the service, the widow of the deceased person stood up from the front row and started screaming at the pastor. She was yelling, "Liar! You are a liar!" The funeral director and one of her friends tried to escort her out of the room. Even from the lobby, you could hear her hysterically screaming, "He's lying!" That was one uncomfortable funeral. What really made it awkward is that the pastor she was screaming at was me. Madam Contest Master, fellow Toastmasters, and our most honored guest, let's rewind the story about a week before the service. I was on the phone with my friend Derek. I was a young pastor serving in my first church. Derek was one of my closest friends there. We're making plans to see a movie that week. The first thing he said in that conversation was, "Well, I'm still married." Derek had been estranged and separated from his wife, Carol, for 2 years. He thought the divorce was going to be finalized that week, but a snafu happened to prevent it from becoming official. Sadly, Derek and I never got to that movie. He died of a heart attack a couple days after our call. Since the divorce was never finalized, Carol was legally his wife at the time of death, and she controlled all of his money. At first, there was not going to even be a funeral because in her words, he doesn't deserve one. Somehow, Derek's side of the family talked her into having a service, and they asked for me to officiate since I was such good friends with them. Well, she wasn't sure about that. When I talked to her on the phone, she said, "Now, if I let you lead this service, you better not say what a good guy he was, because he wasn't one." Well, that made me mad. So I said, "Well, it sounds like you better find someone else to lead that service then." For some reason, she hired me anyway. to only try to fire me during the middle of the service. Well, hopefully you have never been screamed at during a funeral. However, you do know what it is like to have some screaming widows in your life. What do I mean by a screaming widow? I'm talking about those loud, critical voices that just try to beat you down and tear you apart. Can you think of some screaming widows in your life? Think about it. It might be that difficult person at work or school, always talking bad about you behind your back. Maybe it's a family member or friend. You love them, they love you, but sometimes they can just be a jerk and say really hurtful things. But I'm sure you're not related to anyone like that, are you? No way. But oftentimes, the loudest screaming widows can be ourselves. We can all be our own harshest critic. We can be so mean to ourselves. I've discovered that when I have to deal with screaming widows, there are 3 major temptations that I need to resist. The first temptation is to be distracted. When Carol was screaming at me, I was distracted from my purpose. What was my purpose? To lead the best service that I could. But no one was listening to me. They were all paying attention to her, hollering and carrying on. I didn't know what to do. I was distracted. Not only can screaming widows distract us, they can also discourage us. When she was calling me a liar in front of a couple hundred people, I was discouraged. I was also humiliated. I wanted to just fade into the background and disappear. I was thinking about abruptly ending the service right then because I didn't know how I was going to recover. I just wanted to quit. I was discouraged. Screaming widows can distract us. They can discourage us. They can also cause us to be disgraced. Carol cannot disgrace me, but I could have disgraced myself by the way I responded. You're probably more mature than I am, but when someone is screaming at me, I want to scream back at them. But that would have turned me into a screaming widow. What should we do when we're faced with these screaming widows and we are tempted to be distracted, discouraged, and disgraced? I want you to remember 3 words. Keep moving forward. When a screaming widow tempts you to be distracted from your purpose, keep moving forward. Since no one is paying any attention to me, I just kept repeating the same phrases over and over again until Carol was out of earshot and I got everyone's attention back. And I did my best of getting back to that purpose of leading the best service I could. When you are tempted to be discouraged, you just want to give up. Keep moving forward. When someone has enough nerve to call you a liar in public, you begin to ask yourself, did I say anything wrong? But I knew that I did not. So I refused to let her negative words define myself, and I just kept going. And when you are tempted to be disgraced, keep moving forward. It is natural when someone is disrespectful to us to want to be disrespectful back, but that never makes anything better. That just makes us bitter. The good news is you probably won't be screamed at during a funeral in the upcoming week. However, you will have to deal with some screaming widows, whether if it's from a difficult person, a family member or friend, especially yourself. What should we do the next time a screaming widow tempts us to be distracted, discouraged, or disgraced? Please say those 3 words with me. Keep moving forward. Madam Contest Master.
Thank you, Toastmaster Brad. We'll have time for our judges to mark their ballots. Toastmaster Tiffany, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. All right, are you ready?
I am ready.
Tiffany Hokelman, love has no room. Oh, I'm sorry. Be curious. Let me start over. Tiffany Hokelman, be curious. Be curious, Tiffany Hokelman.
When he avoided making eye contact with me, I knew something was up. Tiffany, I don't know how to say this. I just can't marry you, okay? What? You're breaking off our engagement? I was devastated. All my life's plans had been wrapped up in getting married. What was I going to do now? This was definitely not going according to plan. Madam Contest Master and former children of all ages, what did you want to be when you grew up? I loved that question as a kid because it made me so curious about what life was going to bring. I spent hours playing all those silly games and taking all the quizzes trying to predict my future. But by college, I had it all figured out. I was going to graduate and then I'd go get a great job, make tons of money. Then I'd marry the man of my dreams, have a few kids, and, live happily ever after. It was going to be smooth sailing. But then life happened. Life happens to all of us. Things would be going along great, and then out of nowhere, I'd get walloped upside the head by some unexpected challenge. It was kind of like living life on a blacksmith's anvil. Blow after blow after blow. Never quite knowing when that next blow was coming. When my knight in shining armor broke off our engagement, I was devastated. All my dreams were dashed. All my plans vanished. And all I could think was, why? Why me? And then when my real Prince Charming finally showed up, what took you so long? Then we found out we couldn't have kids. I didn't understand. It's all I'd ever wanted. It's not fair. But life happens to all of us. And the only thing that I learned after hundreds of life's blows is that life is hard. And I didn't like hard. I avoided hard. But they say that hindsight is 20/20. And so when I look back at my life years later, I can see how all of those hard things actually work together to forge me into the person that I am proud to be today. You see, that blacksmith has to put the iron into the fire, get it so hot that it becomes malleable, and then he pounds it and bends it and twists it into something stronger, into something more beautiful, into something with an important purpose. If life had gone according to my plan, it would have been smooth sailing and boring. Every one of those blows made my life more interesting, made it more beautiful, made it into something important. Like that broken engagement, as heart-shattering as it was, saved me from what could have been a disastrous marriage and prepared me for a wonderful one. And not being able to get pregnant made no sense at the time, but led me to adopt the son who was always meant to be mine. When I look at my life now, never in my wildest little girl dreams could I have planned out the journey that I've been on thus far. My journey's not over, and neither is yours. There is plenty of life and challenges left to come. And I used to white knuckle it through life with fear and worry about what bad things were coming around the corner. But then I realized that if everything that I've been through has actually made me into who I am, then what's to come will mold my future. Because life happens to all of us. So now when life gets hard, instead of blaming it on bad luck, I get curious. I start to wonder, and I ask myself, wonder what I could learn from this, or I wonder how this can make me better, or I wonder if this could fulfill a greater purpose. Because life happens to all of us. And being curious doesn't take the hard out of life, but being curious squashes the angst of anticipation of what's to come. So the next time that life gets hard for you, instead of getting frustrated or angry, be curious. Ask yourself, how could this make me stronger? What could this teach me? How could this fulfill an important purpose? Because being curious helps us exchange fear for hope. Being curious replaces weakness with strength. And instead of being a waiting victim, we are in control. So when life happens to you, be curious. No matter your age, let me ask you, what do you want to be when you grow up? I've decided I want to be curious. Madam Contest Master.
Thank you, Toastmaster Tiffany. We are now at the point of our program where we will allow the judges to mark their ballots and send them over to the ballot counters as they have been briefed. And now we will start our interview process.
Valerie,
Yes,
we need to have silence until all the ballots have been submitted.
okay. Let's, Timer, could you please bring up
You don't need to time it.
oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I'll let everyone know when the ballots have been collected, and then we will start the interviews. Thank you.
Madam Contest Master, we have all the judges' ballots and we'll retire to the breakout room to tally them.
All right, I was told that we have all the ballots now, so we will start our interviews of our contestants. And first up is Toastmaster Nancy Watley Blaine. So Toastmaster Nancy, would you mind turning your camera on so we can start our interview? Hi, how are you?
Hi, Valeria. I'm good, thank you.
Good. First off, just let us know your club and which division you're representing in the contest this evening.
Sure. Minetta Voices, and I have the number up because it's a long one, 7724716, just, in case anyone's curious. And then I am Division B.
Division B. All right. Now, a quote that stuck out to me on your profile sheet is, hope and fear cannot occupy the same space. Invite one to stay. That is such an amazing quote from Maya Angelou. Can you explain to us what the meaning of that quote has for you?
Absolutely. So Maya Angelou, I'm pretty sure her mouth opens and nothing but wisdom ever pours out. She's just an incredible inspiration. So where I am right now in life is I have just launched my own company. And I would say I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit, but you can't take risks without there being fear. And so there's kind of always this balance and this tug of war, at least for me, that I'm always, like, we want to pull forward. We don't want to stop the opportunities from coming through. So I think that quote is incredibly appropriate. It really speaks to my heart and where I am in my life right now. And I had a good friend of mine say recently, she said, Nancy, you can always get a job. This is something that you were meant to do. So, just conquer that fear and make that happen. So yeah, that quote really speaks to me. I love that question, by the way. That was the one I was hoping you'd ask.
I love it. Thank you. And I just got so warm when you said the best award that you received was that your kids called you the best mom ever. And I just love that so much in terms of what that means in terms of all of the other things that we've accomplished in life, that what really matters to you is what your immediate family thinks of you. Do you mind expanding on that just a little bit?
Yeah, really quickly, because I know I'm at my time, but so oddly, I have a teenage daughter that absolutely is like amazingly unteenagery. I have a lot of kids. She's my last, so I'm guessing this is just God blessing me with like the non-teenagery teenager. And yeah, she's like, Mom, you're the best mom in the world. I feel very blessed by all my children, but it's kind of nice to hear that.
Oh, well, thank you, Toastmaster Nancy, so much, and enjoyed your speech tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Valeria.
Next up, we have Jake Earl. Hi, Jake.
Hey there.
So I see that you are also an entrepreneur where you had a startup and you actually sold it and you had an arch grant. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, it was a right place, right time kind of thing. Out while we're in grad school at University of Missouri, I had a friend that ran into a storage problem. He had no idea where to store his stuff when he was in between leases. Every storage facility in Columbia was sold out. So he ended up storing his stuff in a neighbor's garage. And that was kind of the spark behind a business we launched, which was called Roost Storage. And we created a Airbnb type platform where people could store stuff in their basement, garage, spare bedroom, businesses with extra warehouse space to leverage it for self-storage, and did not expect to be in the storage world, but that was just an idea. We figured out a solution and ended up getting acquired by a moving company about 2 years later.
That's awesome. I mean, to just see a problem, meet a need, and go for it. Can you tell us a little bit about your volunteer work with Read Heart Alliance? I had never heard of that organization before, so this is an opportunity to give a plug for it. What's that about?
Yeah, it's pretty special. So I actually, Unigroup is my club and company that I work for now, based out of St. Louis, but I live in Chicago, so I work remotely. And it's an organization that my church is partnered with, and it's helps essentially at-risk men or kids from preventing violence in the inner city of Chicago. And then they also have a program that specifically partners with once someone comes out of prison, to help them get kind of their feet on the ground, not just kind of be stuck on their own, but really partner alongside them to get them in a place where they can not cycle back to that situation that they were in. But it's a really special organization, and I don't know, you learn a lot through it.
Thank you for sharing that. I was curious about that. I'm glad that I did ask that question. And we are at time. I wanted to ask you what was your Netflix recommendation, but we're out of time. So
until next time.
Until next time. Thank you so much. Next, we have Toastmaster Nicole Arms. Hi, Nicole.
Hello.
And I forgot to ask Jake, but let me ask you, give us your division and your club name.
Sure. Division C, a League of Our Own Toastmasters.
All right. So part of your, you had a quote that you said, you must do the thing that you think you cannot do, by Eleanor Roosevelt. I'd never heard that before in that light, but what does that quote do for you?
Absolutely. And I likened it to Toastmasters. I used that quote in a speech a couple of years ago. And if we think about Toastmasters, we don't like to public speak, but we do it. And, you know, it's overcoming those things that you think that you can't do. And I've certainly had many challenges in my life where that quote is very apt, and it's what keeps me going.
Now, you say that you earned your DTM in 2020, right? Was that right at COVID, wrapping up things? How was that?
It was interesting because, you know, I decided that I wanted to go for my DTM, and then the whole pandemic hit. And we were in this virtual world now. We weren't having club meetings. It was just really different, but I'm very thankful for the experience, because in the virtual environment that we've all become adapted to, it allowed me to work on speeches by attending other clubs that I would have never gotten to go to. And that made it very, made it very authentic.
I read that you're into jogging. So what does that mean? Is that like a light trot, or are you doing marathons? What is your jogging regimen looking like?
Yeah, so I used to be a distance runner, and I see that I'm at time, but anyway, I injured myself and now I jog. And basically it's like not as fast as a run, but faster than a walk.
Good news is you're doing better than most. You're moving, and that's all that's important. So I'm glad to hear that your hobbies and Toastmasters has helped you along the way in all aspects. And it's been great to hear from you, Toastmaster Nicole. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam Contest Master.
All right. Next up is Toastmaster Brad Adams. Hi, Brad.
Hi.
So can you tell us which division and which club you're representing?
Sure. I'm representing Division F, Smedley Hometown Memorial Toastmasters Club. If you're looking for a second club, anyone out there, check us out. We meet every other Friday.
Now, you said that what inspires you is seeing lives change. I would really like to hear more about that. What does seeing a life change look like to you that inspires you?
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, as I mentioned in my speech, I have an awesome job I don't deserve being a pastor. I just celebrated earlier this year my 20th anniversary of being in full-time ministry. I've been able to see a lot of cool things. One that's happened just recently in the last few months, there's this lady who came to church during our church service started. We're eating our donuts, before our Bible study classes, before our worship service. And I met her 4 years before because one of the teenagers of our church went there, and I tried sharing the hope we have in Jesus with her. And she came in while we're eating our donuts, and she said, "Pastor Brad, I don't know if you remember me." I said, "Yeah, I do." He says, "Remember how you shared Jesus with me 4 years ago?" I said, "Yeah, I do." He says, "Well, I rejected him because I was living for the devil. I was on drugs, but I want to be clean now. I want to live for God." And what I love about her now, she's made herself accountable. She's been clean now, off of drugs all year. In fact, she's probably read more of the Bible than anybody else in my church so far this year. She's just starting in Genesis and she's plowing her way through. Last I asked her, she was already in 2 Kings. So if you're familiar with what she's read a lot already this year. So just so proud of her and seeing the turnaround. And I have nothing to do with any of this. This is all the Lord doing it, but it's awesome being able to see it happen.
Able to participate. I appreciate that. And of course, we're out of time. I wanted to get into making sure that you were aware. I think Garth Brooks had a channel on Sirius XM with his picks. As you mentioned, you like country music and fantasy baseball. So do you have Albert Pujols on your team? Were you able to draft him?
Oh, with fantasy baseball? No, I don't have Albert Pujols, but I was born and raised in Detroit. We had a Tiger reach a milestone today that Pujols reached before. Got his 3,000th hit. So I was pretty happy for that, being a Detroit fan. Not too many good things happen with the Tigers.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you, Toastmaster Brad, so much.
Thank you.
And finally, last but not least, Toastmaster Tiffany Ockelman, how are you?
I'm great, Valeria. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you
Good.
for asking. I just wanted to talk to you about your quote, "Love has no room for fear." So tell me, what does that quote mean to you? Just jumped off the page to me. I want to hear your interpretation.
Absolutely. Thank you for the question. It is my life's motto. I chose it, or it chose me really several years ago, probably 20 or 30 years ago now. And it's kind of based on a Bible verse, but what it means for me is that I like to serve, I like to help people. But I'm also very fearful at times and will hold myself back because I don't want to feel like a fool or make somebody mad or do silly things. And so love has no room for fear is kind of my own edification to push myself out of my comfort zone, to do the stuff that's hard to do, there's no time for fear if I'm there to love people or to help people or to serve people. So that kind of has been my, like I say, my motto that's kind of pushed me forward in life.
All right. Now I jumped ahead of myself. Can you tell me your club and what division you're representing?
Absolutely. I am with Loquacious Leaders and we are in Division A.
Now, you mentioned in your profile that you are part of some small business operations. So tell us about that. What's going on with that?
Yes. So we've already talked to a couple of entrepreneurs. I have my own business and I have run it for 12 years. And so one of my hobbies really is small business operations. I love reading about small businesses. I love helping small businesses. I specifically help solopreneurs, who are people who are kind of running their businesses by themselves. And I help them figure out how to scale and grow their businesses and brand themselves. So I love everything about helping passionate business owners be able to grow their businesses.
Wow. Well, we have 4 entrepreneurs, and technically with Brad serving as a pastor as well. That's operating a business too. So
Right.
in a different light, of course. So
That's exciting.
things to see all of these themes within Toastmasters and how Toastmasters can definitely help in that arena too. So
Absolutely.
so much. Thank you for your speech and just thank you for participating and all the best. Thank you all.
My
so
pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right, with that, I am now going to recognize our dignitaries in the room. First, we have our immediate past district director, Toastmaster RJ Stratton,
Thanks, Phil.
our past district director, Toastmaster James Childress, our past district director, Toastmaster Elaine Curry, our past district director, Toastmaster Tom Kosha, past district governor, Dan Darnell, and our current Toastmaster district director, David Kincaid, our director of our program director, Toastmaster Karen Linegang, our club growth director, Toastmaster Dawn Tucker, and our past district governor and past district director, Toastmaster Laura Mather. Am I missing any? Am I missing any?
Tim Spezia, past district governor.
Tim Spezia, our former district governor. I believe that's everyone who is on screen.
James Childress.
I mentioned him up top.
Okay, sorry.
All right, and for all of our division directors, and area directors who are in the audience, thank you all so much for your time and coming to participate in, Toastmaster Annetta Smalley. Thank you so much. It's hard to see everyone in the participant queue. And last but not least, we have Toastmaster Monica Rose, who is our international director. And I would like to now, and also Region 5 advisor, Monica Rose. And I would like to read her bio because we will be handing the meeting over to her. Monica Rose joined Toastmasters in February 2006 to improve her communication and leadership skills. Can you believe she was once shy? After attending the Toastmasters event outside of her club, Monica was hooked on all the exciting opportunities the program had to offer. Now, Monica doesn't meet a stranger. As a retired mechanical engineer, Toastmasters and volunteer in her community. She has mentored, motivated, and encouraged many in achieving their communication and leadership goals. From her experiences, Monica states, those who fully embrace all that Toastmasters program has to offer will truly have a life-changing experience. When she isn't running half marathons, you can find Monica cheering for her New Orleans Saints, solving Sudoku puzzles, or reading the latest book on leadership. District 8, fellow Toastmasters and honored guests, I'm honored to present and hand this meeting over to Monica Rose.
My new Toastmaster friend, thank you, Toastmaster Valeria, for your introduction. Before I go into my keynote tonight, I just want to congratulate all of the international speech contestants. Round of applause for them. And I do know that I am the only person that's coming in the middle of that announcement of the winners. So I definitely will be brief, but I really want to share a message. In this time of rebuilding ourselves and our organization, one might ask, how do I engage the Toastmaster program and what growth opportunities are there to me to really make a difference? Well, some of my speech tonight will require some interaction. So hopefully all of you can turn on your video cameras if that's okay. I'm okay with that too, because I want to see some hands raised and see who you are. I've had a chance to visit one of the sessions today, and I really enjoyed that one on networking. Networking like on super speed dial, speed dating, that was amazing. And this is part of the engagement that we can all talk about tonight. So with that, on the pathways to success, that's your theme. Fellow leaders, along with that pathway to success, my title tonight is Membership Has Its Privileges. We'll discuss a little bit about the why, the how we get there, and where to find those leaders. And I know in District 8, you all are chalked up with leaders that stay engaged, stay supporting our members. And I want everyone to, if you don't already know them, we're going to ask them to be available, as they all are. Some of them say those three letters that are not necessarily in order. It's YES, but then never, maybe if they have to say no, it's because they want to use their leadership skills and delegating to help others learn and grow along the way. So a little bit about the why. Let's talk about why get engaged and talk about the method to the madness behind that. I'd like to see a show of hands. Who is a very new Toastmaster? In that networking group, I met some very new Toastmasters, maybe 5 months or a year. Yes, raise your virtual hands because that'll pull everybody to the front and forth. You know, on my screen, I see 2 levels and layers here. But Kimberly is a new Toastmaster. Thank you for being brave enough to raise your hand. And for all of those who have not raised their hands and they're new, be brave. Don't be afraid. We heard it in one of the speeches tonight. Don't be afraid, because this is your chance for everyone to see that you're new, and then you could see who hasn't raised their hand, so you can network in this Zoom room tonight and ask them for their assistance in your journey. That's how we get engaged. One of those things is, one more question that I have, who is very new to Toastmasters and is now at the club officer level? This is building our method to the madness. At the club officer level, this is where you have an introduction to your first team. So you're learning the Pathways program, but there's a leadership component that I didn't know about when I joined. And what I needed, that's one area that I needed to have that fulfillment for just rounding me out as an individual. That's why I pay my dues every year and have been for the last 16 years. Some of our sages like Elaine Curry, yeah, James, yeah, you know it. You're probably in multiple clubs and you keep giving back. But let's look at those new club presidents or club officers. Raise your hand if you're very new to that role for the very first time. Don't be afraid. Ah, we have one. Yes, and she's president. All right, Maureen, kudos. This is where you get a chance to learn those leadership skills and to work as a club in that safe environment. Remember that? That's your first team. All right, more people are stepping up. Now take that from, if you're a club president, actually, this is your very next step into your area director role. This is another thing that can help us all grow, because as an area director, we're out there visiting clubs and just having a great time, learning how we are as leaders, and you get it reflected back on your leadership experience. That area director is an appointed person. So the next step is the division director role. And this is where, for me, my eyes just really got wider, because I saw the difference of serving as an area director and that leadership level versus the division director that pulls on another leadership skill that you all learn and develop. And that's building those transferable skills. Now, the next step after that, you're thinking, oh, I can't do any of this. Guess what? Every step of the way, Toastmasters has a support system built in for you to be successful. No matter where you are, if you're just on that step that says, I really want to do this, but I just don't know if I can, there's always someone there to give you that assistance and help you along your journey. So let's look at what's next after the division director role. Oh, you think you're done? No, there's another step. Now, this is one where you get a chance to build your team for the very first time. How cool is that? You get a chance to build a team and complete a project. Remember, you'll have help along the way, but this is the club growth director area. And when I was club growth director, back then it was called Lieutenant Governor of Marketing. And I said, oh my, what have I gotten myself into? But I took a breath. I paused for a couple of weeks. I didn't quit. I said, let me ask and think about this. And the help was there. So we built that team. The next position was program quality director. I didn't serve in that role because the need was there for me to serve as the district governor at the time. But then I looped back at somewhere in my journey and was the fall conference chair. So I still had a chance to learn and grow on programs. So here I am, school building. I'm making friends. And that kept pushing me forward. I had mentors, and I'll talk a little bit about that in one of my challenges to you tonight. The very next step is district director. How many of you, now we've got members in the audience that have served in this role before, but how many of you are thinking about going into the district trio leadership? Please raise your hand, and I want to tell you why. It may not be tonight or tomorrow or next year, but maybe in the next 2 years. We want to build a succession of leaders. So you start getting those skills ready and working at the small nuggets so that when you do get in that role, it's not so overwhelming. Who else is, I see President Maureen, you still have your hand up. All right, you going for it. All right, I see Andrew and Terry. This is cool stuff. Leaders, take note. They're saying yes. All right, Andrew still has his hand up. So that means at some point, you'll see all of these leaders in that capacity. And we're, as leaders, once you know the role and you go that way, you're responsible to pay it forward. All right, we're at district director. What's next? Oh my goodness. I see Elaine Curry in the audience, and I know Fazana served as region advisor. So wave, Elaine. Yes. Guess what? They're there to answer those questions for us, to serve in the region advisor capacity. And there are cheerleaders, and they're just are there to inspire. I had 2 terms of service, and that's an appointed position. We did everything by teams. Even at that level is a team component in that. How do we work together on committees? And the last thing is international director. And here I am today. I would have never thought that I would have been at this moment, because all I really wanted to do was be a better communicator and take that shy introverted person out there. But through the support of all of the leaders around me, whether it was in my home district or outside of my home district, I was that, as Tiffany says, that curious one. So the role of the international director is to support members in the districts where they are now with anything to help them succeed, but definitely the other aspect is to look forward to making sure that Toastmasters is around for another 100 years. So this is an opportunity where you can engage and grow in all aspects. I do have something that I'll drop in the chat for our very new members who may not have seen this before. And it's just an organizational layout of where you are as a member with the Toastmasters International Leadership and World Headquarters at the very base, because the base is there to support every member, no matter where they are. And the member is at the very top because the member is the most important person. This is the member that allows us to serve and allow us to reflect back on how we are as a leader. So things we learn, transferable skills, delegation, team building, networking, communication, collaboration, conflict resolution. Yes, there's such a thing as conflict, but it's all good because we operate in our core values of integrity, respect, service, and excellence. So with that, we have an opportunity to, here's 3 points I want to leave with you. We have an opportunity to continue to learn and grow. Be curious, make friends, ask them their why. Leaders are readers. So some of the leadership books that we might read, share some of those nuggets with our members. One thing, as an international director, there's a reading group. It's a social group, the club. We just read books. So it's called a book club group. And we get a chance to pick out the titles that we read and then come back and have a discussion. One was on infinite thinking. And that it was an eye-opening experience for us all. But this is where we are in the district level. It's an infinite time where we serve as leaders, but an infinite time, finite as leaders, but an infinite time on how we can grow. On mentoring, let's talk about mentoring. We did just a little bit there, but just one example, I had a mentor who was outside of the Toastmaster organization that helped me with my LinkedIn profile. As a campaigning for international director, I had one static profile and she looked at it and she said, no, we need to do this, this, and this. Well, she was a few years younger than me. And some would say, oh, you've been there, you know it. No, I didn't know it. I had to trust that new leader that came in to help support me. So be a mentor, but be a mentee as well. And that helps us all grow and keep us all engaged, no matter if we're 18 or 78 or 68, going on a new 38, whatever that is, we can all learn something, but never be afraid of failure. Always look for the lesson, the message in the lesson. And that's me. I'm a half glass full type person. So just my few words on inspiring us all to stay engaged. And I'll have to be transparent. I want to share one more thing. When I was club growth director, I was a member of 6 clubs. Does anyone resonate with that? Yeah, I see some smiles. Well, I'm not in 6 clubs anymore. Only 5. I just joined the 5th one. But they're advanced clubs, because in advanced clubs, you get to know a lot more and connect in other ways and learn. Okay, I know I'm a Toastmaster. I guess I'll be quiet right now. But it's just the excitement of what I've learned from where I was as a person who hands would shake at the lectern. And now I am so excited to meet new members and new friends in other districts. So I call you all my friends. I talked a little bit about teams, success in teams. With that, speaking of those teams, tonight we have an opportunity to induct a new set of leaders for the new year. So I have to change hats real quick. I'm going to change my virtual background and let you know that how is she going to do this in a Zoom environment. Well, guess what? I have my gavel, my handy dandy gavel. All right, are we ready? Now, more leaders, you'll hear something about raise your virtual hand. So District 8 Toastmasters and guests, it is indeed an honor to serve you in this capacity tonight. Welcome to the Officers Induction Ceremony. The district is the service arm of Toastmasters International. The district mission is to build new clubs and support all clubs in achieving excellence. We are indebted to our district leaders for their dedication to our core values: integrity, respect, service, and excellence, and their commitment to strengthen our organization through their district leader roles. Today, we will officially induct these new leaders and pledge our support to them in the coming year. But first, let's thank our current district leaders for their service and hard work. Current district leaders, please raise your virtual hand. That means the district trio, division directors, area directors, everyone who's supporting this year. All right, I see you. I see you. We are grateful for your contributions over the past year and for fulfilling your responsibilities to the best of your ability, and look forward to all of your accomplishments by June 30 of this year. Thank you for leading and adapting to our challenging world. Kudos to you all. Congratulations. Remember, June 30th, 11:59:59. All right, please lower your virtual hand. The following Toastmasters have been elected as division directors. Will the newly elected division directors please ensure your cameras are on and raise your virtual hand as you're introduced? Division A Director, Lisa Campbell. Division B Director, Jackie Cam Blackard. Division C Director, Herman Kester. Division E Director, Willie Blue. Division F Director, Bob Heaton. All right, I see some virtual hands and some regular hands. Very good. As division directors, will you commit to doing your best to support area directors and help the district fulfill its mission? Please respond, we will.
We will.
Please unmute yourself. Please respond, we will.
We will.
We will.
Excellent, excellent. All right, congratulations. Thank you very much. Please lower your virtual hand. And now, please help me welcome in our incoming team. Art Stanzi, incoming Club Growth Director. Please raise your virtual hand. Sarah Van Meter, incoming Program Quality Director. Karen Leingang, incoming District Director. Excellent. This gavel that we have available for us tonight is a symbol of the responsibility and authority of you that you have leading your respective roles in the district. Do you accept the duties of your office as outlined in the District Leadership Handbook? Commit to working together as a team and pledge to do your best to serve the district and fulfill its mission. Please respond, I will.
I will.
I will.
Excellent. Now, Toastmaster Langang, there's more. As the district's Chief Executive Officer, you lead members in fostering strong clubs and achieving their goals and fulfilling the district and Toastmasters International missions. Do you accept these additional responsibilities?
I do.
Excellent, yay. All right, now the audience has a responsibility. If you can, please all turn on your cameras. I have a question for you. Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much for turning on those cameras. That says you're going to support our leaders. Your question, you have chosen your leaders and now have the responsibility to support them. Will you help the district team be successful? Please respond. We will.
We
will.
Will.
Hey, district leaders, you heard it. All supporting our leaders to success in the coming year. That was thunderous applause. I just want you to know again, it has been an honor to induct you all. Congratulations. This concludes our ceremony. And now we can find out who our winners are. Back to you, Toastmaster Valeria.
You, Monica, I'm going to take over here. Thank you so much for joining us tonight and for the induction ceremony. You did a wonderful job. I think you matched our energy of our contest master, Marquetta Wise from last night and Valeria tonight. You guys could be a trio. Or you could be triplets from different mothers. You guys did an awesome job and I enjoyed your energy.
Thank you.
Okay, I am going to, before we get to hear who our winners are, I'm going to ask Tom to please drop in some links for our evaluation for last night and tonight. If you could please fill it out. It would help us tremendously to plan for events in the future. And I'm also going to take some liberty here. I probably shouldn't, but I'm going to. I want to call out District 8. I want to tell you how awesome you are. We did a trivia contest to support our Roberts Drummond Inmate Scholarship Fund. We had a pie in the sky goal of $2,500. I want to shout out to you all that we have surpassed that by over $200. Our first donor was Laura Mathers, and I give her a shout out for being the first one on this bandwagon. Umunga De Silva is our latest person on the bandwagon, and that's great. But she doesn't have to be the last one. There's still an opportunity to donate and to give money to help support our two prison clubs, Alpha Toastmasters and Toulouse Toastmasters. So if you are looking for a worthy cause, please take the time and visit our website. And once you get there, Andrew has dropped it into the chat. Just click on donate and tickets. I said it earlier today, but seeing this amount of contribution really proves Elaine Curry to be correct. District 8 is a village, and when we have a cause, we pull together. And we can only thank our previous leadership for years prior to this year and this year for breeding or installing that village as a community idea. So District 8, give yourself a round of applause. You are awesome. Okay, I want to say thank you to our functionaries tonight who have served. They made our contest go rather smoothly. A huge shout out to our contest chair, Art Stanzi. We've only given him a few times to be a contest chair. So Art, I think you got this down pat, and I don't care if you're the club growth director next year. I think you're our district contest chair again. I want to call out Marquetta Wise as our Friday night contest master and Valeria Boughton for being our contest master tonight. A big hand to our chief judge, RJ Stratton. Not only was he our immediate past director, but he also survived his roast today, and his feelings weren't hurt. And he came back with pride to be our chief judge again. So I guess we're doing something right. Last night, our pattern speaker was Makeda Joseph. Our 3 timers, our 4 timers were Valerie Young and Ahmet Chuck. Could you please help me, Ahmet, so I don't kill your name too bad?
No worries, Karen. You're doing good. It's Amit Chakraborty. Amit Chakraborty.
Ahmet Chakraborty.
Yep. Thank you.
And thank you for being tolerant of me. We also had Maureen Gleekamp as a timer for Friday and Anil Pillai for tonight. We had 3 ballot counters. We had Suzanne Slovak, Neva Nichols, and Warren Lambert. We had a sergeant at arms last night. Her name was Ariel Bonart. And a huge, huge, huge applause to our Zoom master, Mr. Tom Kasha. For the chats for the chats that were in the chat, our comments within our chats, what a wonderful contest, well ran. Well, I just announced everybody that you can thank for your wonderfully ran contest. They worked hard and they worked as a team. So thank you very much. All right, I bet you're tired of me. So let's go ahead and jump right into the winners of our contest. A big drum roll for 3rd place. Jake Harrell. Congratulations, Jake. For 2nd place, our drum roll is Tiffany Huckelman. Awesome job, Tiffany. 1st place, I know I could stop and be rude and have a pregnant pause here, but I think I'll stop. Drum roll. Symbol for Elaine. Mr. Brad Adams.
Well, the preacher won.
Congratulations, everyone. You did a wonderful job. Okay. So everybody, please turn on your cameras. We have reached, I'm going to call it a successful end to the conference. But then again, I would have called any end as a successful end to the conference because of the time and energy